Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be talking about a rare quarter that allegedly just sold for $5.1 million at auction. And this seems like a staggering record. I was scrolling on my phone and opened the Safari app, or maybe it was Chrome, and this news article that I wanted to share with all of you came up, and I thought that it was really interesting. And as I read more, I was like, I really have to make a video on this coin. I mean, obviously, a quarter that sells for 5 million, I can think of some pretty rare ones off the top of my head. There's certainly some that are going to be selling for tens of thousands. I can think of the $2 Sacagawea Bolak Mule coin, that some of those are north of $100,000. And there's obviously like some old, 1790s. I'm sure that those things can stretch way high in value, but this seemed interesting, so I want to forward this. I'm going to read some highlights from this article, and we're going to be discussing, again, $5 million for a quarter in this video. And I have the article up here on my computer, and I'm recording, and I'm going to kind of be live reacting to this. But basically, here's what the deal is. So we're on mitigationguide.com, and it says 1976 bicentennial quarter sells for a whooping $5.1 million. And so a whooping, I think it would be whopping, 5.1 million. We get an image that immediately triggered alarm bells when I saw it. So this is a bicentennial quarter. I have a video that talks about the rarest bicentennial quarters. So there are some things to look for on this, but a lot of what I was so shocked about is how much money it seemed that it had fetched. So that is an insane number for a quarter. I'm not sure if there's even any quarters that have sold for 5.1 million prior allegedly to this. And so I was then a little bit like, okay, it's April 8th, 2025, in a groundbreaking moment that has thrilled coin collectors and numismatists around the world. A unique 1976 bicentennial quarter, nicknamed the Liberty Drummer, has sold at auction for an astonishing 5.1 million. This record-breaking sale has not only redefined coin valuations, but also reignited excitement over the hidden treasures that may lie in everyday pocket change. That sounds right. I mean, a $5 million coin in our change, I've heard of a lot of $100,000 ones, and there's already even kind of criticism in the community about should you make videos saying, hey, look at all these coins that sold for so much money. I think it's really exciting because I think it's so important to have, respected numismatic commentary and get excited about the possibilities. Sure, you can get some great stuff when you're dealing coins, but there's still a lot that can be out there when you're just finding them. And the odds are so low to find it that makes the hunt all the more fun. And there's a lot of pretty good things, medium value. If you're picking up $10 here, $20 there, you get a big score from the bank and you get a bunch of silver, maybe $500. So, it's really tough. Obviously, if everybody was finding these $1 million coins, everybody would quit their job and start searching. So anyways, 5.1 million. Out of more than 1.7 billion bicentennial quarters between 75 and 76, that was for the, by the way, 200th anniversary. Think about that, 1776, when we declared independence. Obviously, we're coming up on 250. This coin stands out to a combination of exceptionally rare minting errors. What makes it so remarkable? Quad strike error. The coin was struck 4 times, each strike slightly misaligned. This resulted in a ghostly layered effect on his profile. Again, red flag number 2. This is like a generic coin, and there's no error. Like, I can't tell what's wrong about this whatsoever. They don't mention if it's 1976. There's a D mint mark right there indicating that this was minted in Denver. It's not mentioned anywhere here. So continuing to be suspicious. It says a missing mint mark. Though struck on a 40% silver planchet typically reserved for San Francisco proof coins, the coin lacks the usual S mint mark. So nowhere was this mentioned that this was a proof coin. This is feeling suspicious to me. And the coin in the photo has a mint mark, so it has a D mint mark right there. So this really doesn't make much sense. 180-degree die rotation. There can be missing mint mark coins that can be super rare, but this is not that kind of situation. 180-degree die rotation. The reverse design is flipped upside down compared to the obverse, an error caused by significant die rotation. That is an error, but that's the sort of thing that new collectors could think that they have on their quarter, and they think it's going to make it really rare, when in reality it's properly rotated. Wrong planchet composition. Lab tests confirmed it was struck on a 40% silver planchet, but the coin shows wear patterns consistent with circulation, which that doesn't mean it couldn't have circulated. What it's referring to, and I think the spoiler, I don't know, but this seems like it's basically AI written, is that because it just doesn't make any sense. 40% silver planchets would occasionally basically get left over at the mint and then struck with, say they were striking all the coins in 1976, then it gets in 1977, which is an entirely different design because it's no longer that commemorative 200th anniversary. So that could be what's going on here, but it doesn't make sense that it's circulated and so it's rare. And this is a hybrid obverse design. Microscopic inspection revealed elements from both the 75 and 76 master dies blended onto the same coin face. That doesn't make any sense, but it's truly like as a coin dealer, I field thousands and thousands of emails. There's if people want a coin to be worth a lot of money and they're just convinced that they have it and they don't want to let go to the possibility that's not rare, people will, send me all these coin photos in a microscope and, it's often very well intentioned, but they're really just like hoping that there's something there. And unfortunately, it often just isn't. I mean, there can be, they'll say, there's these like ghosts in the design, and that microscopic, this is sort of catering, this article, I think, this is a spoiler, is catering to people that are not as well informed about coins. They want to get excited about a coin that they have. And so instead of, teeing it up and saying, hey, here's a really rare coin, these are the characteristics, it's kind of doing that, but it's making the value go way up. And it's using all these confusing terminology that don't really make that much sense. And then they bring in some what I think are fake quotes. They say, veteran numismatist Eleanor Winters, in my career evaluating over 30,000 bicentennial quarters, I've never expected to come across something like this. That doesn't make any sense, because if she's commenting, there should be some mention, I would think, of the business that Eleanor is working with, and it's very unlikely that a veteran numismatist would evaluate 30,000 bicentennial quarters. There's some, like I've searched 100,000 pennies or more, but the bicentennial quarter is not one that you would, just evaluate, because there's generally pretty little numismatic value there. It says Martin Gladwell, a retired postal worker from Cheyenne, decided to have his late father's coin collection appraised. They found the Liberty Drummer. And this didn't make sense. After rigorous authentication from 3 major grading services, it was certified as MS63, an exceptional grade considering the wear it had sustained. If there was any wear on the coin, it would not be a mint state grade. B, if it was a really good grade, or maybe they've exposed the grading companies, it wouldn't be mint state 63. A well-struck coin that's like a really solid strike uncirculated is going to be at 65, but they don't mention anything about what grading service it was, so there's no way that this article is real. This then says, at a private auction in Manhattan attended by just 12 invited bidders, so they're having some mystique and intrigue. 5.1 million. Smashed so they're saying the record is 1.3 million for a 1796 quarter. Auction coordinator Caroline Shenton says that the final sale price left them speechless. We don't know whose auction, and it's, I guess, the private auction in Manhattan. And so then they say, could you have these rare bicentennial quarters? Some of these, honestly, are not bad. I mean, you can look for these 40% silver coins, whether they're off year or just the 40%. They made commemorative 40%ers in 1976. Multi-strikes off center, very fair, missing elements, and die rotation. I mean, all of those. And then Patrick Hernandez of the American Numismatic Guarantee, that doesn't exist. Noted a 600% surge in bicentennial quarter submissions after the sale. And they say most still turn out to be worth face value, but we're spotting genuine errors at a surprising rate. It's really not a good idea, guys, to send your coins in. Occasionally it'll work out, but there's so many people. I've seen people who are in a tough financial spot. They send in a bunch of coins. They pay $500 because they think they're getting $5 million back in the mail, and they're out with the $500 that they really, really need. I mean, they could have bought gold. They could have bought stocks. They could have saved in cash. But they do kind of what this article is encouraging people. So I think it's actually a pretty damaging article. And so, they say it's a powerful reminder that there may be hidden gems in your change jar or coin collection, but I think it's really a caution here. You got to be careful with what you do. I think it's really fun. You can look for coins. There's valuable ones out there. I have a lot of great videos. I'm going to try to keep recycling some of them and kind of teeing them up with the new updates because the market does change on it. So would recommend subscribing, but you got to watch out where you're coming, getting your information from, where things are coming from. And then I'm seeing this is terrifying. 1932 Washington Quarter found grandma's sewing kit sells for $68,000. There's no way that if the last one was wrong, this one would be real. An old sewing kit passed down through generations, but this has got to be, there's very little in terms of the, auction information here. I'm just live reacting here. Something could certainly sell for $68,000, but there's just no info on it. And it's, again, an interesting reminder of I'm wondering, mitigation guide, how, if they're trying to sell ads, I guess, on the content and have people click through and maybe click some ads. It's an interesting blog, but, I think they're just kind of churning out content. So I'll be curious to see if you guys have come across any of these. And I don't know how to call it out outside of to say, you got to watch out for this stuff, and it's interesting. But this one did not sell for 5.1. As a pro numismatist, I'm going to say that, call the problem meter on this one is definitely going off the charts. I'll see you guys soon, and maybe react to some more coin news and coin updates as I see them. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.